Okay guys, I'm going to sort out the garden a wee bit for the winter. Here's all my planters have been moved. We had folk in doing some work on the upstairs and they had the scaffolding and that there, so that's all been moved. So what I'll do is I'm going to give that a good sweep, and most of this stuff here hasn't turned out, so I'll just be going straight in the compost. So before the weather gets much more cold and wet, I'm going to take the compost here. This is the top stuff, wasn't really that great, so it'll go in the bottom over there, and this good nice soft stuff full of worms and such. That'll go just over the whole top, and all it is that over here is mostly branches and stuff, and a Hugel culture type setup. So I'm going to put the soil over the top of here, you know, and then I can get planting in it in the spring. So I just want to use it now so that there's something beneficial happening during the winter. That's all that compost and the large bits that are still left will break down into there, and by the time the spring comes we've got nice kind of quality soil for planting. You might notice a bunch of mushrooms there, they popped up overnight. I'm not entirely sure what they are, I will ID them, but I think they're inedible, so I'll be checking that out. If they're edible, maybe harvest them, dry them or something, just for the sake of using them. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get all the compost, fill a bucket, throw it down over there, come back, fill a bucket, throw it down over there, and I'll maybe be dark in about a half hour or something, so the chances are I'm going to do this just now, and as long as it's dry, finish the video off tomorrow. Okay, thanks guys, see you soon. Alright guys, it's not quite dark yet. Well, it's dark enough, but as you might be able to see, I've banked all that up with soil, and it's quite an improvement. It's only been half the box there. So I've got this wee corner to do now, and all I've done is I've went along, I've pulled everything out. There's a gooseberry bush there, I'm leaving that in, but everything else has just been pulled out, flung on its side, and it's going to get covered in compost also. So if you've got a garden and you want to do this for the winter, anything you don't want to grow, just rip it out, throw it down, and make sure you cover it in a very minimum 6 to 8 inches of compost, and it shouldn't grow back through. So I'm going to continue, cover that up, and then that'll be me done for the night, because it's going to be dark in the daytime. Right, thank you. Get back to you tomorrow with the rest of my progress. Cheers, bye. Hi, good morning guys, this is me back. It's not a great day today, it's pretty miserable, as I'm sure you can see. It's been raining most of the morning and that, but it's calmed itself down, so I'm glad to come out and just have a wee look around. This is the stuff I laid down yesterday. You can see that comes through my compost heap, so it's still kinda got a bit of breaking down today yet for the stuff that was nearest the top. But I'm happy just to let it sit there and do that over winter. So by the time spring comes around, that should be broken down a bit more, and it should be really great for planting. So in the spring I'll be able to plant up under here. I plan to do what they call a hedge, fruit hedge. So I've got the trees, as you can see, and I'm just planning on underneath there, just planting fruit bushes, currants, berries and the like, just as many as I can. You can see here in the corner, that's a gooseberry plant. I've decided to leave that there, everything else got tore out. It's not grown greatly, but I'm going to get another year in there to see how it comes in the spring, and if it comes good it can stay there, if no I'll think about moving it. So the compost heap, as you can see, there's some beetroots in there. They were shop bought ones, we didn't manage to get around to eating them, so they went bad. Just take all this junk out. Right, so that's compost that I've left in here. I'm going to be leaving in just a couple of buckets worth, That's to keep the microbes and the organisms all going and active instead of your next lot starting from scratch. So I flung the beetroots in. They went a bit bad, so they can go in there. This is all stuff that came out the compost heap, big pieces that hadn't broken down. That was like really thick card, and some of it has and some of it hasn't. And there was bits of plastic in there for when I've cut the grass and put the grass clippings in. You know, it's bits of you've not seen while you've been cutting the grass. So all I've done is I've took that out, and I've left a couple of buckets in here so that it's still biologically active. So to this couple of buckets I'm going to add a few things I've got lying about, just to give you ideas of what can go in. This stuff here is pet bedding, it's wood chips, and wood chips are fine for your compost, they're pretty good, as long as you don't overload it with them. And this is bedding for my mate's snake, so it's a snake bedding, any bedding will do. Guinea pigs, hamsters, rabbits, all that kind of stuff can go straight in there. So I'm going to throw some of that in a second. And I've got just a bag of cut up newspaper, and that's got to get thrown in there as well. What I noticed last year was I had too much newspaper and too much wood chips and wood pieces of branches and scrap for the garden, and it wasn't breaking down. And what I learned was you need to have a lot of green material, e.g. grass clippings, not so much clippings for your trees, but maybe like leaves and branches off of bushes and stuff like that. So green material, and that creates the heat, which then creates the biology to break everything else down. So I'm going to put in a bag of newspaper and a bunch of wood chips. I've not really got any green to put in today, but I'll be cutting this grass first chance I get, really the first dry day, and that'll go in there, and that'll even out the what they call the brown and the green. So your newspaper, cardboard, wood chips, they're brown, and your fresh grass clippings and fresh leaves and such, they're green. And you need to balance that. If in doubt, just make sure you've got more green than brown, and you'll not go wrong. So I'm going to throw this in here and get a mix round, and continue the video. So I'll be back once I've done that. Right, one more thing before I go, guys. What I'll be doing with these big pieces is I'll just be throwing them straight back in the compost once everything's mixed. It's just in case I forget to film that bit. Right, cheers, I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so that's us mixed that through, as you can see there. And I don't normally, what's it called, turn my compost or mix it, just because it's in this wee box, and it's a lot of hassle just to try to mix it. So this big unbroken stuff here is the product of no turning your compost. No, there's a chance this year I might try turning it at least a few times, because that was very substantial material and it's broken down really quite well, just not perfectly. So that a few turns during the year might be enough to just to get that wee bit extra benefit. So what I'll be doing now is I'm just going to throw this stuff back on the top there. Don't worry about it at all. There we go. What I could actually do is I could break it up into smaller pieces. That was probably a better idea. Just distribute it a bit. So it's a wee bit better. I wouldn't say a great deal better, but and there's all the plastic and crap that's left over for just you've absorbed it during your gathering your materials. So I think the next thing we're going to do is take some of the plants, the ones that haven't grown, and just throw them in the compost, break them up a bit. There's a wee bit of green in them, and that should get it ready for grass clippings when I get a dry day. So that's us for now, and what I'll do is I'll do a wee update once I've actually tidied up the garden and stuff. Okay, one last thing before I go. Here's my potato plant. It's been damaged as the guys had to move it the other day, and also it's been sitting in the rain, so it's kind of past its best now. I'm sure that it was due to be harvested anyway, so I'm just going to kick it out, tip the dirt out and see what we've got in the way of potatoes. It'll be easier just to come back and let you see once I've tipped it all out. Okay, thanks. Okay, so here we are. There's a couple of totties in there. I've just tipped the bucket up onto a sheet, and I'm going to have a dig about inside. But the totties that are coming out really look good. I don't think I've got as many as I hoped for. I hoped this was going to be totally packing with them, but looks like I'll maybe get about a dozen potatoes, which is a tiny bit disappointing. But see, it's free. I mean, something for nothing's better than nothing, in it. What a wee baby one still. I even have the cheek to plant them again. Just throw them in there anyway. There we go. Just follow the roots back. A few more and a few more each time. It's another unit. No massive, but right wee size. There's another one hiding in there. Actual plant. Again, all this plant material can go into the compost heap. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to have a good sift through here, and I'll show you how many totties I've got left over once I've done. Okay, hello folks. I mean, that's all the totties I've got. Maybe a dozen. 2, 4, 6. A dozen, fairly decent size, really nice looking, fresh and all that. But I found a few of these kind of slimy, caramel coloured, gooey fucking potatoes. So got a suspicion they've either been too damp, which is a possibility, or I've harvested them too late, but I'm pretty confident that this is an alright time. Checked the timetable for when I planted them and stuff, so I think maybe I've left them a couple of weeks too long and these have started to rot. It could be a combination of the damp weather, leaving them too long in the damper weather. That could also be it. It might have been made more sense to whip them out before it got kind of wintry again. But you live and learn, so I'll look into it and see if I can figure out a way to have a better crop next time. So that's me for the day. I'm going to deal with this soil. I'll probably just stick it back in here just now. For it to be reused later, because I've got plenty down on the top of there, so I don't think it's necessary to keep putting stuff there. So that's my video for today. Hope you've seen something interesting. A wee bit disappointing result with the potatoes, but it'll get us a meal, so it's a free meal, isn't it? I'm happy enough about that. Right, well, thanks very much for watching, guys. Hope you found it interesting. There'll be more updates in the garden probably in the springtime now. This is me winding down for winter. I'll have one more video for the front garden to let you see what I'm up to out there. And it's just going to be a similar process to what I've done at the back. Right, thank you. See you later.